Hi everybody, it's Amanda. How are you doing? Today's the 6th of April 2020 and I'm sitting here and I'm wondering what it is that I can actually bring through today, that I'm allowed to bring through. That's the truth. I've just tried to record this video and the screen blacked out when I started to get to some of the stuff that I'm struggling with in terms of bringing through to you. So I'm just going to try again and ask what I can bring through at this time for people. I'm sorry to be so cryptic. It's just that we're in very extraordinary times at the moment, and certainly where I'm sitting here in the UK, we're just entering into a very critical 2-week period that was always going to be critical in terms of number of people infected, number of people potentially passing over. And I think as a country, people have been bracing for it, getting ready for it. I'm being shown the brace position that you do when you're in an aeroplane. But now it's sort of arriving. There's a feeling that I've woken up with today, which feels very collective, which links into a lot of fear. And I want to use the word dread. And what I'd like this video to be is to try to lift some of that and unknot some of that fear that we're holding inside of us. But having said that, I don't feel as though I can just come on without at least giving a nod to why that dread is there in the first place. I think that's a disservice to the lessons and the teaching that duality brings up for us. You can't just go into the light the whole time, and you have to also be able to face some of the difficult stuff. As you may know, last night Boris Johnson went into hospital, and I believe he's on oxygen this morning. Now, of course, there are many other people that are going through this at the moment, and indeed I know a few of you who are experiencing this with family members. So I'm using Boris here as an example, really, but equally our leaders are important. They are who we vote into power. They are the figurehead, and they have a very pivotal role to play at any time in society. And so the fact that we're in this 2-week period, which we always knew was going to be difficult, with the curve potentially reaching its peak, it's starting to dawn on people that, you know, this is something that has to actually be contended with. And the leader, effectively now in hospital on oxygen, I think has put a lot of people into fear. I myself, last night, I woke up at about 5 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't get back to sleep. And I could just feel, because I'm an empath, I could feel the collective energy coming in waves. And okay, what I'm being shown is a rudderless boat, okay? A rudderless boat. That's what it felt like. It felt like a proportion of people were feeling as though they were in this rudderless boat with no captain, with no oars, and about to go over this great big waterfall. Now, of course, as I've always taught, we have to trust and we have to have faith in spirit that we will be given the oars, we will be given the captain, even if that captain has gone AWOL for reasons of health. But still, you have to acknowledge the very real human emotion that lies behind these times that we're going through. Last week, I didn't say anything, but I can't remember what day it was. It might have been Wednesday. I woke up with such a feeling of dread. I woke up with a real feeling of dread, and it wasn't my dread. This was a collective moment. And it felt as though it was potentially about one of a couple of people. Like a Princess Diana moment. I'm not saying it is Boris, but I just couldn't shake it. And I went to write about it, and I stopped and I raised it. But I did actually turn to one friend who I confided what I was tuning into, because I had to just get it out of me. And when I heard that he had been admitted into hospital yesterday, I feel as though he very much needs our prayers at this time. I feel as though he very much needs our prayers at this time. And we need to be envisaging him back at Downing Street, well and healthy, leading our nation to whatever the next phase is. That is a given, and that's the main reason really for coming on. Last night I had a dream, and I saw him back effectively behind his desk, and he was trying to lead and govern, but his shirt was soaked with sweat, completely and utterly soaked with sweat. It was a light blue shirt, and it was completely drenched in sweat. And it was this contrast between the face, which was saying everything's okay, and the body that was saying everything's not okay. And just tuning into it now with Metatron, I asked, well, what can I say about this? And what Metatron said is people need to start realising, we all need to start realising the extraordinary mantle that we put onto any leader. Whether you like that leader or whether you don't like that leader, the extraordinary expectation and workload and responsibility that is given to one man or one woman. And then when you're faced with a time which is extraordinary and out of the ordinary, we're in a pandemic, nobody saw it coming, and it arrived. And certainly in the UK, we had, I don't know, a few weeks to get ready for it. Did he make mistakes? Maybe. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's a human being. And yes, he's appointed as Prime Minister. But I truly feel as though most leaders were caught unawares by the speed of this and weren't as equipped maybe as they needed to be to get up to speed. Well, I tell you what, hopefully when he comes out of hospital recovered, he will be up to speed. And the timeline that I would like us to be trying to set for the UK is one where a leader comes out of this experience with enhanced empathy, understanding, determination, compassion, and more than anything, a unifying force. And what was interesting last night is that when the news broke, I looked at the comments coming in on two contrasting newspapers. One which is very much a conservative paper and would be a traditional, place of support for somebody like Boris. And I also looked at a more left-wing paper, which normally would have been the one, vilifying the Tories, to be perfectly honest. And what was interesting is that the majority of comments that were coming in were basically being able to see the human being that is Boris Johnson and wishing him well. And a lot of people saying, I might not have agreed with him up to this point in time. I didn't vote for him, but actually I really wish him well and we need him back at the helm. Come on, Boris, basically. And you have to understand that as a country, on the back of Brexit, which completely and utterly divided the country, to have a moment where you can have people of different political persuasions coming together, and even if they're just able to do a tiny little bit of goodwill towards him, that still is massive. It's massive. So this can be a moment where people can unite, put down their political differences, and just wish a human being who happens to be in a position of power well. And that's truly, truly what I feel we should be doing. And I feel at soul level is what Boris, whether he knows it or not, is actually offering us. He's offering quite a few things actually at soul level. And as I say, there are different timelines at play here. I am not going to reread the cards that I did for the UK for the next 2 weeks. We're in the second week now. What I said on that video still stands as information that is valid. But there is another storyline there when I went back and looked at the cards today that I now see, but I don't want to articulate. But if that timeline were to play out, I would come back and tell you what I can see. The thing is, the cards that came through for the UK, for this period that we're in now, the first card out was the card of the Emperor, which is him. The Emperor is the one who is linked into law and order. He is the person that sits basically in the position of power. In the month of Aries, we've got the ram underneath his feet. And we also had the Queen of Wands, which I took to be Queen Elizabeth. And you see the thing, why I feel this, there really is a pivotal moment here to send some prayers to him, is that last night in the UK, Queen Elizabeth did the 5th broadcast of her, however many decades she's been on the throne. I can't remember now. Is it 50 years? I think it might be 50 years she's been on the throne. And she's done 5 addresses to the nation in that time. One was the Gulf War. One was after Princess Diana died. She did one when her own mother died. I can't remember what the other occasion was. So this was the 5th time that she had come on to the screen and said a few words to basically try and bring some comfort to people, and to tell people everything's going to be all right. And that broadcast was timed to the moment it was needed, okay? And the intention was to help bring support through to the nation. So for an hour and a half later, for the news to break that Boris has been taken into hospital, you can bet your bottom dollar that that was an unexpected occurrence. There's no way he would have wanted to have taken the news from the Queen. That's what it was all about. This morning, the news anchors are very much, I'm just noticing it's almost like they're trying to underplay it. Sort of slipped in that he's on oxygen, but they're trailing on other news items. So I just feel as light workers, this is a time where I can see a lot of different tunnels leading to different outcomes. But the one tunnel I'm being shown here is a tunnel for the UK, which helps to unite us. And it seems to come in on the back of this whole situation with Boris. Going back to my dream last night. So yeah, I saw him sort of in this sweat-soaked shirt, but I also saw the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, who many people have praised through this crisis that we're having. And he was very much business as normal. His energy was very much business as normal. And in my dream, I called out, those are my windows being cleaned. I'll talk about that in a moment. That's probably symbolic. In my dream, I called out, is everything okay with Boris? And he just sort of, as they do when they're going into Downing Street, he just sort of gave me a cheer. It's okay, everything's all right. You could take that many different ways. The window cleaner's just arrived and is cleaning my windows. That happened when I was doing another video recently. Okay, thank you, Metatron, because what I also feel about what's going on with Boris now, hopefully he comes back fit and healthy and all the rest of it. And if that is so, it's as though there's a massive purge of energy that he was maybe holding. And he's going to come back renewed, but we need him to come back. Okay, so I think it's as far as I can go with what I'm saying here. In terms of the Archangel Metatron deck, when I pulled a card for the UK for the time frame that we are in right now, I got the Mother Mary card. Do you remember? Those of you that have watched the video. So I'm just going to pull that out again. Maybe I'll pull, I'm not going to pull a tarot card. I just don't feel it's right, but I'll pull a Metatron card because they feel sort of safe to do so, if that makes sense. Yeah, we pulled the Blue Madonna card, okay, for this week for the UK. Blue Madonna, mothering. So the energy of mothering, nurturing, the female energy coming through. You see, that's the other thing. I think that's why I'm talking about Boris, and I'm very aware lots of other people are affected by this. But again, you see, we can learn a lot from leaders because they're like an archetype. And those who are not in the UK maybe don't fully appreciate, but the Johnson family, it's a huge family basically that he comes from. He's got this father that's very larger than life. He's got quite a few siblings, but you know, the story I always remember about him last Christmas, Boris Johnson, was that his family didn't agree on Brexit, for example. So some members voted for it, other members voted against it. And there was like this ruling, I think it was the sister who said the ruling over Christmas dinner was nobody was allowed to talk politics, nobody was allowed to talk Brexit. And although, yeah, they're a well-heeled family, quite an aristocratic family, of course they are, but equally, when it all boils down to it, he's just somebody's son. You know, he's somebody's brother. He's somebody's father. He's somebody's fiance at the moment. He's also a dad-to-be. His fiance's pregnant. And so you can put into that many different other situations that we're going through now. The person who's got the dad who might be in hospital, or the person who's got the husband who is, you know, very worried about them. So I truly feel as though what's happening with him has many, many layers. And I just feel the most appropriate thing today is just to light a candle and say a prayer for him. So at that point, I am going to light a candle for him, and that's what I'm going to do. And I will probably, I don't know whether I'll put the comments in this video. If I don't, apologies. I love you all, but I'm struggling with some of the trolls that are out there at the moment, and the misinformation as well that's coming in. And I just want to keep my channel as clear as I possibly can and be able to do my job. Because the truth is, you see, I've lit that candle for Boris, for all of us. But you see, I've been able to put my political differences aside to do that. That's what I'm trying to teach here. I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for Brexit. I actually had a pretty poor opinion of him even a month ago. He'd gone up in my esteem actually over the last month. And I was thinking actually he's rising to the challenge. He's doing his best. It's not about me and what I think about him. The point is that I just see the human being. I see the soul. I see so many layers of what his soul is trying to do here. And I really, truly honour that. And I can light that candle with no animosity in my heart towards him. And I think that's what he's trying to teach here. I really, truly do. And it may well be that other leaders come forward and try and teach us this as well. And there'll be those that can't light a candle for them. And there will be those that can. And to those that can put the party politics aside, because my God, we need to put party politics aside at the moment. Well done you. Well done us. Well done me. Okay? This is about so much more than what your view of the world. It's about trying to see people as souls. And that's what I can see with him. So that's his candle. This is kyanite, by the way. One of my friends, Donna, bought me this. It's beautiful, isn't it? So that's our prayers going up for Boris today. Come back to us soon, Boris. Healthy and well, please. Let's pull a card from the Metatron deck, shall we? And then I'm going to pull a Moonology deck as well. And then I'll do some work just in terms of releasing fear. Okay, card from Metatron. Monday the 6th. We've got this big week. Oh, it's a big blinking month, but, you know, we've got this Libra full moon on Wednesday, haven't we? Family. And look what's on the bottom of the deck, the void. Family. What was I just saying? We're all family. If we could start to see ourselves as family and not just see ourselves in terms of what's your politics, what's your belief, are you a Christian, are you this, are you that, are you New Age, you know? If we could just start to see ourselves as family, you know, it's almost as though what I'm wanting to say, it's time to put our differences to one side. It truly is time to put our differences to one side and to see ourselves as part of the human race, all of us as part of the human race. And I feel people like Boris, in fact, I'm just going to say Boris, he's absolutely trying to demonstrate this at some level of being at the moment. Now, when I say that, you know, it doesn't mean that he necessarily consciously knows it. It's like that's what his soul is doing. We all walk around a lot of the time, and what you see is the person and the face and, you know, the way they present themselves, and they might say things that rub you up the wrong way or whatever. But at soul level, if you dip into that, you get the person. So we've got a lesson in terms of family, and we've got the card, which is the void. The void is the void. It's also a card which says retreat, rest and pause. You see, I know I said I wasn't going to reread the cards I've already pulled a couple of weeks ago for the UK, but I will just show this because it ties in. You see, we got these two cards. We got the moon in reverse, something sort of we can't see, we're not supposed to see, but is sort of there in broad daylight. And we had the Four of Swords, which is the card of enforced rest, okay? Hopefully just rest, you know, time away to rest and retreat. And you see, this is another thing that I think Boris is trying to teach us at soul level. What he's done is, and I would have done exactly the same, hands up, I would have done exactly the same, and I mustn't do it if I get ill, is that he tried to carry on. He tried to keep just carrying on, even though he's got the virus. And it's made him, it's taken him to hospital because he wouldn't stop. How many of us that are workaholics, me, would do the same? Me? Well, when are we going to stop? When are we going to stop? You know, you want this to be a rest. You don't want it to be anything else. You want it to be a rest. And this lesson that I'm talking about in terms of the virus, all of the videos that I've made have talked about we're being given a retreat, a pause, a retreat for nature, Mother Nature to come back. Well, but it's our moment to retreat and pause. We're going into the void, but you know, here, this is the sound of creation. What do you wish to create? What do you wish to create for your family? But not just your family, you see. What do you wish to create for the whole human race? Okay, that sounds a biggie, doesn't it? Well, yes, it is a biggie. But that's why you came here. That's part of the mission. It was never just about us. It was about everybody else. One of the reasons I'm getting so tired with some aspects of social media is this, and we're all guilty of it, myself included, this incessant focus on me, 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 me. You know, it can be very narcissistic. What about us, us, us? You know, bringing we into it rather than just the focus on me the whole time. Me, myself and I, you know. It needs to be about the family. It needs to be about us. Let's pull a moon card from the Moonology deck from Yasmin Boland. So we have got, oh, okay, that just shot out from nowhere. Well, that one did as well. Take time to breathe out. We'll do that in a moment to release some fear. What was this one that just shot out? Okay, we've had two that have come out. We've got communication is key and prosperity lies ahead. Now, you see, the interesting thing for me is that feeling of complete dread and knot in my stomach that I've had for a few days. It's because I've been sitting on what I'm saying here now. And I've confronted some stuff that maybe isn't too easy to talk about, and I'm not comfortable talking about, but I had to do it. And now it's like this lightness. So we have to be able to express our fears, whether that's our fears for the world, whether it's our fears for each other, whether it's our own fears. Actually, I'm frightened myself, you know? And then when we can do that and we can release that and we can actually breathe it out, which is what is being said here, then prosperity lies ahead. Prosperity is about so much. Prosperity is about true abundance, and grounded abundance as well. You know, this is a Taurian energy, you know, sort of like it's grounded. So that leads nicely on then to just do some breathing together. Oh, okay, I must just say as well, detach from drama is again also on the bottom of the deck here with the Metatron cards, comes up all the time, that one, you know. once we've done the breathing, then we can detach from the drama and we can get on. Okay, so I'm going to use a spray here that's called Fear Fighter. It's actually one of our children's sprays, but a lot of grown-ups use it, myself included, and it is what it says. It helps fight fear. And I think we all need a bit of that at the moment, so let's do that. Bringing in the yellow ray. Yellow is a colour that's very good for helping to lift our fear. And I want you just to bring that beautiful yellow energy into your solar plexus. But it was almost like until it can get into the solar plexus, it's got to work its way down. And there's a lot of stuff that feels as though it's stuck between heart and throat. So just allow that beautiful yellow ray to flow down from the higher chakras, above your head, down through the crown, and it's like making a beautiful straight line going straight down to your gut, and it's coming through the third eye, the throat, the higher heart, and the solar plexus, and then it's just sort of like pooling out, so it's now flowing down to the feet as well. Now I'm wanting you to focus on your lungs, and we're going to be filling them with yellow light, golden sunlight. So let's breathe in 3 times the yellow ray, and we're breathing in power, and we're letting go of the fear. So as you breathe in, you're breathing in power, and on the out breath, you're breathing out fear, okay? Breathing in power, breathing out fear. So let's take a nice deep breath in. And out. Let it go. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And then I'm being shown the whole world, and the world is being cradled in a golden chalice, a golden chalice. So we have the world, and we have it being held in a golden chalice. I just want you to envision that for one moment, the world being held in a golden chalice, golden cup. And then I'm seeing you curled up in like a fetal position, like children do, like I do when I go to bed. You put yourself into like the fetal position. See yourself in that pose and see yourself being placed into the golden chalice. All is well. Okay. And we're going to end with a prayer for Boris and for everybody else that is going through this virus at the moment. We'll focus first on everybody else. So anybody that is suffering from this virus that you know, that you love, that is in your community, let us all just hold them up to the light for one moment. Let us envisage them well. Let us envisage their lungs clearing. Let us envisage their vitality coming back. And let us envisage them coming back to their families and loved ones, recovered and well. For the ones that are choosing to pass at this time, we thank you for your service, for your light, and for your life, and we honour you. And I'm just going to tune into Boris and say a prayer for him. I'm being shown, it's like I was tuning into him for one moment, and I feel he naturally is an optimist. And there is a side of him. What I was basically shown was like one of those great big handkerchiefs, which was checked, that you get on a picnic. Like I talked about the picnic recently, didn't I? And it's like, but he tucked this big handkerchief. It was checked, blue and white, into his shirt. You know, like you do, like kids do when they're trying not to spill their food. But it was like he had that, and it was to do with wanting to get back out into it and actually enjoy some food again. I think probably he's lost his appetite, and I think he likes his food, Boris. So I'm just feeling there's still that life force energy there that's just wanting to get back to it. So I wish you well. I wish you well, Mr. Johnson. Come back to us soon. Much love, everybody. I'm going to leave it there for now. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.